What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm excited again. Remember how stoked I was about the NORVINA Volume 1 palette? Well, guess what, you guys? Guess what, Beach? I got my hands on Volume 2 and 3. They released on September 26th, and thank you, Sephora. Thank you, Jesus, for your next day shipping. That is very affordable because I have them both already here today. So I'm gonna film 3 looks with Volume 2 today, and then I will be filming 3 looks with Volume 3. You will see that video later this week. I'm having like a watery eye situation again. I don't know why. This one is only my right eye and it only waters on the inside corner, which used to be different. It used to be my left eye and would water on the outside corner. I feel like this right watery eye needs a whole name for itself because it just shows up in my life and just ruins my day whenever it feels like. What's a good name for her? Barbara? Is Barbara a good name for that? Barbara needs to go home. No offense to anybody named Barbara. I don't think you're the equivalent of a watery eye. Just, you know, sometimes you just feel like the name is right. Regardless of my watery eye situation, I am excited for these 3 looks. At the end of the video, as always, I will let you know what my thoughts on this palette are. And of course, I will timestamp each look and the review down below, as well as link you to all of the products I use outside of this palette on my face, on my skin, well, my face and my skin is the same thing, but you see what I'm saying. Before we get into it, please don't forget to leave a like on this video if you don't mind taking a moment to do that, because it's very helpful to me. Also, if you're new around here, perhaps you've watched a couple of videos and you just haven't committed to subscribing it, I would like to encourage you to do that, because you know what? Barbara keeps coming back, so why don't you? I think that's all we need to talk about before we get started. So let's get into it. Start look number 1 with the NORVINA. This number system is getting confusing to me. Look number 1 with NORVINA Volume 2. For the first look with NORVINA Volume 2, this is the cool toned version of her palettes. There's a lot of blues and a lot of greens. This is what it looks like on the inside. And the other day I saw this look from Ourfa Zanelli. I definitely have done looks inspired by Ourfa before. She's one of my favorite like OG Instagram influencers. I love her makeup. Also just realized I didn't put any of my candles on, so I'll remedy that in just a moment. We'll get the ambiance going, don't worry. She posted this look the other day and I just thought that the way that this blue looked over the whole lid was so stunning, and there's a very similar kind of blue shade in this palette. I'm probably going to add a little bit more structure to my crease than she has here, just because I find that that's a little bit more flattering on me. There we go. Now it's a vibe. So to begin this look, we're not even trying for a transition shade today. I'm going right in. I'm gonna go into the shade B2 in here. I'm picking that up on my BH number 6 brush. I'm gonna start packing that through the crease and blending it upward. I'm also going to bring that down over the whole lid though. These shades might be a little bit darker than what Ourfa used now that I'm looking at it, but it's still got that like cornflower blue kind of undertone, which is really what got my blood pumping about that look. I'm gonna grab a clean, very fluffy blending brush and just blend the edge of that out. Sometimes if I don't gel my eyebrows before I start blending my eyeshadow, I get like brushed down eyebrow hairs. I'm gonna gel my eyebrows before this becomes annoying. It's like having bangs. On a larger packing brush, this is a Sigma E55. I'm gonna go back into that same shade B2. I'm just gonna pop that across the whole lid. This shade is definitely a little bit doing that thing where the edges sort of look darker than where you put down a larger amount of the shadow. Do you see what I mean? Like right up here where I've already blended it and it's already been sitting there for a little bit, it looks a lot darker. I noticed that a lot of very bright shades do this, but often what happens if you let them sit, it just kind of all gets a little bit darker and it starts to make more sense again, which is a bummer because you do lose some of the vibrance of the shadow, but at least it doesn't look disjointed. Now that this main blue shade is down, I'm gonna take my MAC 221S brush and go into the shade, which one am I gonna use? Go into the shade C3, which is very similar in undertone to this blue, but a little tiny bit darker. So I'm just gonna use that to deepen up the outer portion of my lid, a little bit of the outer portion of the crease, The difference between those two shades is very subtle. In this case, that's exactly what I want because I don't want to give the impression that I'm adding a ton of like dark blue, but I do want to contour the shape of my eyelid a little bit. And just to deepen up a little bit more right on the outer portion, I'm gonna take my Sigma E36 and I'm gonna go into the shade D5, which is this deep navy shade. And just a little tiny touch of that in the outer corner and the outer portion of the crease, just for some shape. We don't want it to take over the color of the look. I am going to add a very bright inner corner to this, just like in the example photo that I showed, but it's going to be like an inner corner moment. So I'm going to do the lower lash line first, and before we do that, I'm just going to do some concealer and some powder, and then we'll start working on that. Add the inner corner after. All right, for the lower lash line, I want to add a little bit of pink. Luckily, the few non-cool tone shades in here do include pinks, which is lovely. I'm gonna grab my BH number 7 and just start running that under my lower lash line. I'm gonna put more purple and blue down under the lashes too, but this is gonna be like the color that it blends out into. I'm gonna take a MAC 222S brush and go into C3 and just push that along my lower lash line. We'll use that to hook around up into the top. And with that same brush we used to put down the pink, just use that to blend those two together. So for the inner corner, this palette doesn't have like a bright silver shade, but it does have some killer shimmers. I think I'm gonna go with D1. To do that, I'm gonna grab a pencil brush and I'm gonna go straight into the shimmer. I will see after we apply it if I think I need to go back in with a damp brush. If I recall, with the volume 1 palette, I didn't really feel like I needed to dampen too many of the shimmers, so let's see. Oh yeah, that doesn't need a damn thing. For the waterline in this look, I want to deviate away from the inspiration picture a little bit and just go in with a nude. I'm going to grab my Tarte Fake Awake pencil and just run that through my waterline. Okay, I put on House of Lashes Stella Luxe. I have a fresh pair on hand, which I love. When I have a fresh pair of my favorite lashes, you can't tell me nothing. For the lip, I want to keep it cool, keep it juicy, keep it neutral, juicy nudes on deck. But I want it to be a little bit darker because I feel like that'll kind of like give a little 90s vibe. Ourfa in her look, let me look at what she had going on. She had more of like a pinky nude with like a deeper liner. I'm gonna go more along the lines of like just like a 90s-ish nude. So I'm gonna pick up the Haus Labs pencil in the color Myth, and no surprise here because I've been using this one a lot lately. This is the Urban Decay Hi-Fi Shine Gloss in the color 1993. And this, in spite of the fact that my eye started watering and messed up the shadow on the right side in here a little bit, hopefully that's not too distracting for you guys. This is the first look. Okay, for look number 2, I'm going to be playing with the greens, and I'm thinking like a wing shape, maybe a little bit like left open in the center, a pop of color on the inner corner, a little unexpected boop. I'm not 100% on where we're going with this yet, but I have like a loose picture, you know what I mean? So I'm gonna start with the color E3, which is really, really green. That's like Kelly green. And I'm gonna pick that up on my MAC 268S brush and just stamp a wingy shape with that right around the outside of the eye. And then I'm gonna create a top line for that as well. I'm bringing that like well over where my crease ends because you know what? Why not? On my MAC 228S brush, I'm gonna go into the same shade and I'm gonna use that smaller brush to create like the inner twin to that shape. Now that I think I have a general shape down that I like, I'm gonna start filling in the corner bits. Do the same for the outer portion too. Just working to blend that toward the middle. I'm gonna pick up a clean flat brush and just go over the end of that to blend it a little bit more. I'm gonna take my Sigma E36 brush. I'm gonna go into the shade C4. Shade has like a little bit of like a Prussian blue undertone, like blue with a little hint of green. Just gonna put that in the inner corner to deepen that up. Do the same thing in the outer corner as well. On the outer side though, I'm not gonna bring that anywhere above the crease. That way it kind of defines the crease for us, but like leaves that greenness. I'm gonna take the same brush, go into a little bit of D5, which is that deep navy shade, just tap it off and just deepen a little bit further at the inner portions again. What is making this look kind of fun, in my opinion, is the negative space portion of it, but I do want to add some shine to that. So I'm going to go into the shade C1, which is like a very metallic kind of champagne nude-ish sort of a shade. I'm going to pick some of it up on my ring finger. I'm going to place that shimmer directly in the center of the lid. Again, blend over the edges of that with that clean brush. I like that. A little bit different, a little bit interesting. I don't think I've ever done anything like this before. I mean, like I've done this shape before, but I don't think I've ever done like the center this way before, and I'm into it. So I put down some concealer, but I did not powder yet because I think it'll work out better this way. Just, we'll see. I might regret this. I take my BH number 7 brush. I'm gonna go into the shade A1, and I'm gonna drag that underneath my lower lash line and up around onto the inside corner of my lid as well, just blending it over that green. And for the lower lash line, I wasn't planning on this, but now that I have this shape down, I think it'll be cool to like leave the outer portion of the lower lash line pretty much bare. So I'm just gonna do a little bit of a better job of lightly blending the underside of that winged out area. It's not really blending it out because it's not really giving a gradient, it's just kind of softening the edge when you have a hard shape like this. And for the waterline, I'm going to go ahead and brighten it up with that same nude pencil from Tarte. I'm going to repeat the process on this eye, add some lashes, and then we will continue on to the rest of the look. My eye is still watering, but this time, because I have a darker shadow, it's not as obvious on the inner corner. So suck on that, Barbs. For the lips, I want to do something juicy, but I want to do something with like a little bit of a lavender kind of undertone. So I'm going to line my lips with the NABLA pencil in the color Melrose. And I'm going to go over the top with the MAC lip gloss in the shade Ice Orchid. This is from one of their holiday collections from last year, 2018. So I don't think they have this one anymore, but MAC has a lot of lip glosses that are really similar to this. So I'll try to find a similar one and link it below. Can you believe it's almost time for like holiday collections and stuff again? Where does the time go? And this is the second look. For this third look, I had something else in mind, but I'm thinking now that it would probably be more beneficial to you guys if I tried to do a look with this palette that wasn't so heavy on the blues and greens, so you can kind of get an idea of what type of diversity of looks you could get out of this palette. Although it is obviously blue and green heavy, can you pick this up and get something a little bit different out of it? So I'm gonna try to stick more into the other shades for this look. So that being said, I don't have a plan anymore, so we're gonna see what happens. I'm gonna take my BH number 6 brush and I'm gonna start by going into the shade C2. You know what's really weird, and this has nothing to do with this makeup look, but I just think it's weird, so I'm gonna mention it. I prepped my skin today with the Pixi Skin Treats Vitamin C Serum, which I love for under makeup, but I also added in a little bit of the e.l.f. Watermelon Jelly Pop Primer, which I also love, and they're sitting really nicely on my skin, but for some reason, the smell combined with each other smells terrible. And you would think lemon and watermelon would be great, but it's not. It smells weird, I don't like it. So I'm grabbing BH number 6 and I'm gonna start with D2 through my crease area. I'm gonna keep that onto the front half of the crease for now. I may do the whole crease area and blend it up, but I haven't decided if I wanna pop another color in there as well. I'm just gonna take a clean brush and blend the edge of that out. I cleaned that brush off on a color switch sponge and I'm gonna go into the shade D4, which is the matte yellow. I'm gonna blend that toward the outer portion of the crease and just mix it in with that orange we put down. On my Luxie 121 Mini, I'm gonna go into the shade D2 again. I'm gonna pop that right down on the outer corner of my eyelid. I'm gonna grab some concealer on the back of my hand, and again, I'm going to cut the inner portion just to give myself a little bit more room to add more colors in. You know, I just said again, and now that I think about it, I can't remember whether I've cut the crease or not in any of the other looks because I've filmed so many videos with so many different looks this week that they're all running together at this point. Also, I forgot to mention, so I filmed the other 2 looks yesterday, and in between I went to kickboxing class and I accidentally punched all the skin off of my knuckles. So if you notice that my hands are really banged up, that is why. This is my first time hitting a heavy bag and oh my God. I'm gonna grab a MAC 242 brush, and for the innermost portion, like the inner corner, I'm gonna go into the shade C1. I'm gonna pack that right over where we put the concealer. You guys know how this goes at this point. The shimmer shades in these Norvina palettes really are phenomenal. For the rest of the lid, I'm gonna go into the shade D3 on that same flat MAC brush. I'm just gonna pack that down kind of in the middle and toward the outer corner. I'm gonna use the same brush to go into A1, which is a very similar pink, but this time a shimmer. And I'm gonna tap that over the inner corner color and the middle of the lid type pink shade we used. Yeah, the pink shimmer definitely makes it easier to bridge that gap. Now, obviously not a whole hell of a lot going on in the outer corner just yet, so we're gonna fix that right now. I'm gonna go into the shade C5 on a pencil brush. I'm just gonna start packing that right in the outermost corner of the eyelid. I'm gonna make this look a little bit more round overall because I feel like I've been doing like a winged out shape on pretty much everything lately, so I wanna switch it up. I'm gonna take my BH number 7 and I'm gonna mix a little bit of C5 with D2 to use that to blend it all into the lid. Okay, concealed and powdered, and I think for the lower lash line, this is where I'm gonna start working in some of the blues in the palette that I haven't used quite yet. So I'm gonna go into the shade B4, picking that up on a MAC pencil brush. I'm gonna sweep that under the lower lash line, and I think it'll be easy to incorporate this into the colors that we did on the top because I can kind of blend it with that burgundy and make those make sense together. But if you really were trying to get like a warm tones only look out of this palette, you absolutely could do that just by using shade C5 on the lower lash line and then deepening it up with either the dark brown or the black. That would work just as well too. And on my MAC 228S brush, I'm gonna go into C5 and a little bit of E5, which is the black shade, and just push that right along my lower lash line and then hook it into the top so that the whole bottom meets the top and starts to make some sense. For the waterline, I'm gonna go with a bright shade. So I'm gonna pick up Chaos from Urban Decay. Since we're going colorful, might as well go colorful everywhere. For the inner corner, I'm gonna go into the shade A3, which is like this lemon lime green shimmer. Just popping that right on the lower portion of the inner corner so it meets with that champagne shade that we use. I'm just gonna sweep it under the lower lash line and blend it in with the blue. That's actually quite a bit more subtle in its greenness than I was expecting. I'm gonna finish my lashes and skin, and then we will decide how we're gonna pair this look with a lip. I know I've used a lot of nudes so far in this video, but sometimes when you wanna like have the focus be on the eyes, that just is the way it tends to work out. So I'm not sure if that's what we're gonna do, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's the road we take. Okay, I added lashes, finished up my skin real simple, nothing fancy today. Still, even the next morning, she's here. I'm in the mood for a matte nude with this actually. I just feel like it's gonna go really nicely and I want it to be like a nude. So I'm gonna line with the NABLA lip pencil in the color Touch Me and fill in with the NABLA liquid lipstick in the color Blaire. I haven't worn a liquid lipstick in a while because my lips have been so dry, but they feel okay today, so I think it's time to try. And this is the third look. After doing 3 looks and completely disregarding the fact that I was struggling with a watery eye for the last couple of days filming this, I think that out of the 2 that I've tried so far, so Norvina Volume 1 and Norvina Volume 2, out of these 2, I like Norvina Volume 1 better. Not that the quality is any different. They are pretty much identical as far as quality is concerned. The color layout and the color selection in the first one just kind of speaks to me a little bit more than volume 2, but I actually have hopes that volume 3 might be my favorite. But if you're curious if the quality of them is consistent over the 3 palettes, so far that does seem to be the case. They seem exactly the same formula wise. I didn't really have any trouble with blending. I didn't have any trouble with patchiness. The only thing that I have noticed this time around, and I didn't notice this with the first palette, is that when I watched back the first 2 looks that I did on like the HD footage, some spots on my eyelid, it seemed like the color didn't really settle into the fine lines, which kind of gave it like a little bit of like a creased look. That wasn't something that I could see with my own 2 eyes in person in the mirror. Just HD footage really doesn't leave anything to the imagination. So after seeing that, I would take a little bit more time and pay more attention with the mattes to make sure I like tip my head and flatten my lid to pack down the matte shades. But again, I couldn't even notice that in person. It was just something that I picked up on after I watched back the footage from the first 2 looks, especially look number 2. I do want to mention that I have noticed now that I have all 3 palettes in front of me that there are some shades that dupe each other from each of the palettes. Like they're just a little tiny bit different, but in application, they're not different. So I think that maybe it's best to look at these not as a collection that you need to have all of them of, but rather maybe take a look at which one, like which color story appeals to you the most out of the 3. I'm gonna reserve my final judgment for after I do the 3 looks video with volume 3, but as it stands right now, volume 1 is still my fave. So that's it for volume 2 today. I'm going to try to have 3 looks with volume 3 up later this week. It'll probably be around Thursday or Friday though, because these videos do take me quite some time to film and edit. Also, last time one of you guys asked me if these are going to be permanent or not, and they haven't really announced that yet from what I understand. They said they should be around for probably at least 6 months, and then they're going to assess them and see if they're going to make them permanent. So don't really have an answer as far as whether these will be around forever, but it seems like they'll at least be around for a while. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know which one of these color stories do you think will appeal to you the most. Have you picked up these palettes? What was your experience? As always, I would love to hear about it. Also, leave me a comment down below if you have a solution for what I could do about Barbara, because I can't take it. Please don't forget to leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it, because it's very helpful to me and I really appreciate it. And also, if you are new around here, please go ahead and subscribe, because I would love to have you around for more videos. I would also love to have you part of my little Instagram crew. So if you want to come find me over there, I'm at Ms. Quinface. I post other things over there that I don't necessarily talk about that much on this channel. I do some lip art, and I also use my stories as like a behind the scenes PR unboxing, kind of take polls and let you guys know what's going on here on this channel. So if that's the kind of thing you don't want to miss out on, then you can go find me over there. That's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I appreciate each and every one of you, and I will see you in the next one.